And welcome to the Sports Roundtable for today, and glad you joined us. It's getting very interesting in high school sports coming down to the end of October here. The fall sports are starting to wrap up, and it's a very exciting time across the board for high school volleyball for the girls, softball for the girls as well, and even high school football for the boys. And last night we had the last regular season week for high school football, and we'll be entering to playoff play this next week, and we'll get into all of that here momentarily. But a lot going on this week in high school athletics, and we're going to try to touch on quite a bit of it that happened this week. And first, we want to talk about the games we had last night. Nevada County Central and Portageville. We were down there for that game last night, and that'll replay today at 5, Saturday at 5, and also Sunday at 4. Those are the replays for that New Madrid County Central and Portageville game, and also the Piggott and Melbourne game down there in Piggott. That'll replay Sunday at 7 and Tuesday at 6:30. So you can look forward to those replays of those high school football games from last night. So look forward to those replays over this weekend. And as I mentioned, a lot of high school football games that took place last night and some pivotal games as well. So let's go ahead and touch on those games from last night. In a game that we were down for, New Madrid County Central defeated Portageville in that New Madrid County clash 48-20. So New Madrid gets a nice win last night over Portageville. And that wraps up both of their seasons from last night. So we'll get to touch on these district standings as well. So quite a bit of movement in those standings from last night. So we'll take a look at the district standings in just a moment as well. And Malden defeated Dexter handily, 76-8, and the Green Machine of Malden rolls once again, as the Green Wave topped Dexter 76-8, and it got over in a hurry. It was 28-0 after the first quarter, 56-0 at half, and putting up 20 points in the second half did Malden. Dexter scored in the fourth quarter with 8 points of their own, and over 400 yards of offense for the Malden Green Wave, 300 and some odd yards rushing. And that Green Machine just keeps rolling there in Malden, and they sweep their season undefeated, 9-0, entering to playoff play as the number 1 seed, and looking to make a run in this year's district and state tournament. So the Malden Green Wave are for real, and they've proved it all year long, averaging up over 60 points a game, and just unbelievable what they've been able to accomplish this year. And out of nowhere, they had a so-so year last year, right around the 500 mark, I believe, and they've just really turned it on this year. And in every phase of the game, defense, offense, offense and defensive line, the skill positions, the secondary is just complete from top to bottom. And a testament to the coaching staff there in Malden. Joel White and his staff certainly put together a great football team this year, and they've showed it week in and week out, and there's no doubt they're the best small school, if you would say probably Class 3 and smaller, probably the best school here in southeast Missouri. And moving on to some other games, St. Genevieve defeated Crothersville in a close one down in Crothersville last night, 21-17. So St. Genevieve comes down to the Boot Hill and gets a win over Crothersville, and they certainly needed it for their district standing. And pivotal game. That was one of the pivotal games last night, certainly in Class 3. And Sykeston defeated Cardinal Ritter in a shutout, 20-0, and that's one team that's really turned it around since a few weeks ago. They've changed a lot of formations offensively, and a lot of different ball club in Sykeston at this point of the season. So a nice victory over Cardinal Ritter last night. Cape Central defeated Riverview Gardens big, 48-8. Poplar Bluff over Normandy, 43-12. Jackson over Miller Career Academy, 28-14. Big game between those two teams, both state ranked. Jackson in Class 5, Miller Career Academy in Class 4. And a nice test for Jackson heading into district play this next week. And also, Kennett over East Prairie, big, 56-20. Big win for the Kennett Indians, and a nice win heading into district play next week. And also, Kelly over Chaffee, 48-18. Big win for the Kelly football team. And Herculaneum defeating Charleston, 41-6. And our Arkansas games last night, in the game which we were down for last night, Melbourne defeated Piggott 20-6. And we'll have that replay Sunday at 7 and Tuesday at 6:30, so look forward to that. And also, Rector fell to Midland last night, 30-22. That's touching on our Arkansas teams across the border down there. And we'll be looking forward to some more football out of Arkansas. They only had their 7th week of high school football, 2 weeks behind Missouri. So plenty of regular season football to be played there in Arkansas. And as we touched on last night's games, we'll take a look at the standings for high school football. And starting out in Class 1, here are the updated standings that include last night's games. Valley Catholic, no problem, as they rolled over St. Pius last night. And they win. They've won 9 games this year and undefeated 9-0, and no one close to them in that district as the number 1 seed in this tournament. And these are 8-team districts, except for Class 5. And this is your typical 8-team tournament: 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, and 4 versus 5. And the top 4 seeds will host the first round games. So Valley Catholic will host Chaffee, Monroe City will host Louisiana, Mark Twain will host Crystal City, and St. Vincent will host Barrett Academy. And Valley Catholic, the defending state champions, certainly the favorite to come out of this District 1, Class 1, District 1. And taking a look at Class 2, Malden on top at number 1 with just over 51 points and undefeated 9-0. Crothersville turned their season around, opened up with a few losses, but ended up with a winning record at 5-4, even though they dropped that one last night to St. Genevieve. So they finished with a strong season at 5-4. They're the number 2 seed, and they will host, presumably, Kelly. Now, there's one caveat here. Scott City has 1 game remaining. As you see there at number 6, they're at 3-5. They've got 1 game remaining, and that's against Perryville this afternoon, Saturday afternoon. So that game could reflect in the rankings after this afternoon. So at this point, East Prairie will host Scott City, but man, that points are very narrow there between Hayti, Scott City, and Kelly. Hayti at 27.97, Scott City at 27.83, and Kelly at 27.49. So that game could reflect, especially if Scott City wins, because Perryville, I believe, is Class 3. No, Class 4. They are Class 4. In high school football. Yes, Class 4 in high school football. So if they get a win over Perryville today, they'll probably jump Hayti, I would imagine. Hayti had an off night last night, meaning they didn't play. They had a bye week. So Scott City could jump up to that number 5 seed if they were to get that win this afternoon. So as of now, East Prairie will host Scott City, and Portageville will host Hayti. So those are the Class 2 District 1 standings and matchups going forward for next week. And moving on to Class 3, and this had some big games last night that a lot of people were looking forward to. Mostly right there in the middle of the pack of Class 3 District 1. Park Hills Central got another victory last night, so they're an undefeated 9-0. They will host New Madrid County Central next week up there in Park Hills. Potosi, the 2nd seed, finishing with a 7-2 record. They'll host Fredericktown. 3, St. Genevieve at 6-3. They were the 4th ranked team last night in these standings, and they got a victory over Crothersville. They move up to number 3 with a 6-3 record. St. Pius was number 3. They had Valley Catholic on the schedule, took a loss. They dropped down to number 4 at 6-3. Kennett moves up to number 5 with a record of 4-5. They jumped Dexter, which was at 5, and Dexter at 4-5 with just over 30 points. But one fact to look here, Dexter will trade places with Kennett due to Dexter beating Kennett head-to-head, and in the rules, the MSHA rules, if you have consecutive rankings of teams, the tiebreaker, there is a tiebreaker, or not necessarily a tiebreaker, but a rule that if there's a head-to-head matchup with consecutive rankings, as we do here with Kennett and Dexter at 5 and 6, the head-to-head matchup will have the higher seed, the winner of the head-to-head matchup. And Dexter defeated Kennett, so they'll move up to that number 5 ranking and take on St. Pius up in Festus next week. So Dexter will travel to Festus to take on St. Pius. Kennett will have the 6th seed, and St. Genevieve will host Kennett next week up there in St. Genevieve. And so those are the matchups going forward in Class 3 next week. Now moving up to Class 4, Cape Central at 7-2, and barely pulled off that number 1 seed in Class 4 District 1 over Hillsboro, which Hillsboro went 7-2 and finished just a few tenths of a point behind Cape Central. So Hillsboro will host North County next week. Cape Central will host DeSoto. 3 Festus at 7-2 will host Perryville, which Perryville is likely to probably stay where they're at. They do have a game with Scott City, but looks like they'll probably stay where they're at. They're at number 6. And Sykeston having a nice second half of the season. They get up to number 4 spot, and they will host a first-round playoff game at 5-4 on the year. They will host Farmington. So Sykeston got a 13-12 victory over Farmington a couple weeks ago. So we'll see a nice rematch of those two schools up in Sykeston next week. Now moving on to Class 5, and only 7 teams in this district, so Jackson has a first-round bye with an 8-1 record with the first seed. They'll have a first-round bye. And Vianney with the second seed at 5-4. And Vianney will host Poplar Bluff next week, who finished with a 5-4 record. And not bad season for Poplar Bluff at 5-4. But it's just that everyone else in the district had, the worst anyone did was 4-5, as you see there with Oakville, Parkway South, and Fox. They all went 4-5, but that strength of schedule comes into play for those schools, and those schools are up around the St. Louis area, and certainly a lot easier to schedule, a tougher schedule up there. And Poplar Bluff down here in the southeast Missouri part of the state, a little harder to schedule some of those top teams up in St. Louis. Probably geographically tough for them to schedule. They're probably going to have to figure out a way to beef up their schedule a bit, either go down into Arkansas, play some northeast Arkansas teams, some bigger schools down there, or even go out west, out in the West Plains, Springfield area, or maybe go up to the central part of the state. I know Poplar Bluff is not an ideal place to be when you're talking about Class 5. Jackson, right up there north of Cape Girardeau, they can make the trip up 55 up to St. Louis, and vice versa for St. Louis schools to come down to them. But Poplar Bluff will look quite a bit further. You're going down 55 and over 60, certainly a ways to go. And Poplar Bluff not sitting in a real good place for having a tough schedule, so they'll probably have to address that. Not a bad season at 5-4. It's one thing to have a winning record and be the last seed in the district. So Poplar Bluff, tough draw having to go up to Vianney, which they share the same record at 5-4, but certainly a very competitive Class 5 District 1 this year when your worst team has a 4-5 record and probably have a chance to make some noise in that Class 5 District 1 tournament. So Vianney will host Poplar Bluff, Rockwood Summit will host Fox, and Oakville will host Parkway South. And Jackson will take on the winner of that 4-5 game, Oakville and Parkway South. Jackson with that first round bye. And those are the district standings for classes 1 through 5, District 1. So we'll be looking forward to those games getting underway next Friday night. And it'll be fun to watch. We'll be seeing how those games play out next week. And we're going to take a break and be back with more. A lot more to get to here in this past week in high school athletics. We'll be back with more coming up.
NFL Red Zone, the channel that brings you every touchdown from every game on Sunday afternoons. Watch the most exciting moments like never before, live in HD. Every touchdown from every game, live on one channel, NFL Red Zone.
Always on the go? Take the best in TV entertainment with you with New Wave to Go. Now you can enjoy your home television service everywhere, anytime on your laptop, tablet, or smartphone. Watch your favorite channels and sporting events live via the internet. Even access your home DVR to enjoy your recorded shows and movies or to set up future recordings. Prices start at just $12.99 a month. So call us today and ask about New Wave to Go. Another innovative service brought to you by New Wave, your local communications experts.
And we're back, and before we move on to some other sports that's took place this week, we want to touch on the state rankings that come out this week in high school football. And in Class 1, Valley Catholic started this week at 8-0, and these do not reflect last night's games. They're at number 1 as they've been all year. Cass Midway at number 2. 3 is Westron, and there's no tie there as there was last week. Westron at number 3. 4 Osceola, 5 Hamilton Penny, 8 Marceline, 7 Lockwood, 8 Miller, 9 West Platte, and 10 Jasper, making up the Class 1 rankings for this week. Class 2, Lamar, an undefeated 8-0 coming into this week. They actually took a loss last night to Carl Junction, a Class 4 school, and I believe they're a Class 4 school. Yes, they are a Class 4 school and actually ranked in Class 4. I think they lost on a field goal attempt. So Lamar suffers a loss last night, even though it's a very, very good Class 4 team. They're at number 1. 2 Stratford, 3 South Callaway, 4 East Buchanan, 5 Mountain View Liberty, 6 Lutheran North, 7 Lafayette County, 8 Malden, 9 Brookfield, and 10 Brentwood. Malden there at number 8. Haven't been able to move up in that poll much this year. As you see, there are a lot of good teams. They're in Class 2. Many undefeated teams and 2 teams with only 1 loss. So not much movement in that poll so far this year. And in Class 3, Maryville at number 1, 8-0 coming into this week. 2 California, 3 Park Hill Central, 4 John Burroughs, 5 Mountain Grove, 6 O'Hara, 7 Ava, 8 Blair Oaks, 9 Manette, and 10 Reed Spring. And in Class 4, Webb City at number 1, 2 Jeff City Helias, 3 Carl Junction, the team that beat Lamar. So it took a top 5 ranked team in Class 4 to knock off Lamar in the end. 4 Kearney, 5 Miller Career Academy, 6 Afton, 7 Westminster Academy, 8 Hannibal, 9 Cape Central, and 10 Platte County. In Class 5, Fort Osage at number 1, as they've pretty much been all year. 2 Webster Groves, 3 Staley's, 4 Winnetonka, 5 Willard, 6 Park Hill, 7 Jackson, 8 Liberty North, 9 Ladue, and 10 Fort Zumwalt North. Those are your final regular season state rankings for the poll this week. And we want to move on to some other sports going on in the area and some big news in high school softball, especially for today. This Saturday, Portageville is taking on Bowling Green in the Class 2 quarterfinals of the state softball tournament in Class 2. Portageville has had a great run, especially in district play. They knocked off Kelly to advance. I think that was their third time playing Kelly, and actually lost the previous matchups and actually won that district championship. Moving on to the sectional round, they defeated St. Pius by a score, I think it was 2-0 a few days ago, and now they're playing this afternoon against Bowling Green. And with a victory today, they advance to the state Final Four in Springfield in high school softball. So the Portageville Lady Bulldogs softball team really making a run this year in high school softball. So best of luck to them this afternoon as they take on Bowling Green. So a big game today there in Portageville. The game's at Portageville, 1 o'clock start, so you can turn out for that one there in Portageville at the softball field. And that's a 1 o'clock start there in Portageville. So it's right here in our neck of the woods for that Class 2 quarterfinal. So look forward to that this afternoon. And also in softball, big week coming up in softball as district tournament play gets underway. And first, before we get into the softball, let's touch on the state rankings that were released this week in volleyball. And volleyball Class 1, Leopold at number 1 for this week. They moved up to number 1 in that poll. 2, Winona. 3, St. Vincent. 4, Santa Fe. 5, Bismarck. 6, New Haven. 7, Osceola. 8, Green Ridge. 9, Bernie. And 10, Sacred Heart. So a couple teams in the top 10 there, Leopold and Bernie, having fine seasons in high school volleyball. Now in Class 2, Lutheran St. Charles at number 1, 2, Fatima, 3, Fair Grove, 4, Stratford, 5, St. Paul Lutheran, 6, Bishop LeBlond, 7, Mountain View Liberty, 8, Herman, 9, Valley Catholic, and 10, Bloomfield. Bloomfield cracking that top 10 for the poll this week. Class 3, Jeff City Helias, 2, Logan Rogersville, 3, Villa Duchesne, 4, Pleasant Hill, 5, St. Pius out of Festus, 6, St. Francis Borgia, 7, Lutheran South, 8, Dexter, 9, Windsor, and 10, St. Dominic. And Dexter in that top 10 poll once again this week. And Class 4, only 4 classes in volleyball. Liberty at number 1, 2, St. Joseph's Academy, 3, Ozark, 4, Lafayette, 5, Lee Summit West, 6, Coruscant, 7, Lee Summit North, 8, Blue Springs, 9, Narix Hall, and 10, Carl Junction. Making up the top 10 for Class 4. And those are your volleyball state rankings, and the volleyball districts will get underway this week. This Class 3 tournament is the tournament to look out for here in Dexter. It's going to be here in Dexter for the Class 3 tournament. Dexter's got the number 1 seed heading into the tournament, and they got a first-round bye. They'll take on the winner of Kennett and Fredericktown, and Perryville is the number 1 seed or number 2 seed. They'll take on the winner of Notre Dame and Doniphan. So some big matchups to take place there. Certainly, potentially that semifinal match between Notre Dame and Perryville will be a pivotal one. And Dexter looks like they'll make it out to the district championship, taking on potentially the winner of Perryville and Notre Dame. So we'll see how those matches take place. A very competitive district there in Class 3. District 1, as it has been the last handful of years. Here of late, it's been Notre Dame and Perryville battling for that district title, but Dexter has made its way this year. And in the last week, Dexter lost to Notre Dame, but then beat Perryville. So very, very even district between these 3 top teams, Dexter, Perryville, and Notre Dame. So it's on Dexter's home court, so that may make a difference getting the home crowd out potentially for that district championship. So we'll see how that plays out this week. The game, pretty much all the matches are on Monday. Kennett and Fredericktown face off at 6 o'clock. Or actually, the first one is Notre Dame and Doniphan. Notre Dame and Doniphan at 5 o'clock. And the winner, or actually the next match is Kennett and Fredericktown at 6 o'clock. And the semifinals will be that night as well. At 7 o'clock will be Perryville taking on the winner of Notre Dame and Doniphan at 7. And the last match will be the other semifinal, Dexter taking on the winner of Kennett and Fredericktown. And the district championship will be held Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock, the 22nd, here in Dexter. So big matchups taking place in that Class 3 District 1 tournament here in Dexter. So that'll be one to certainly see for this week. Now take a look at some of the other districts. Class 1, District 1, Gideon, the top seed, and they'll host, actually it's Southland hosting the tournament this year in Class 1, District 1 down in Cardwell. And North Pemiscot takes on Delta C7. The winner takes on Gideon there in the semifinals. Clarkton takes on Cooter. And Holcomb takes on Southland. They're in Class 1, District 1. And taking a look at Class 2, District 1, which will be held in Portageville. Portageville with the top seed. They'll take on the winner of South Pemiscot and Hayti. And the other quarterfinal matchups, Malden taking on Caruthersville. And New Madrid County Central taking on Zenith Hornersville. That district taking place in Portageville this year. And now let's take a look at Class 4, District 1. There's only 4 classes in high school volleyball. Farmington with the top overall seed, which will be held in Sykeston. The Class 4 District 1 tournament gets underway Monday. Farmington will take on the winner of Hillsborough and Cape Central. And Jackson, the 2 seed, they've got a first round bye, and they're in the semifinal matchup taking on the winner of Poplar Bluff and Sykeston. So those are the volleyball. Those are the volleyball district tournaments for this coming week for District 1. So be looking forward to how those matchups take place this week. Been a very exciting volleyball season this year. Quite a few teams going to be competing for those district championships and eventually state tournament play once again this year. And before we go, we want to talk about the softball. Basically, I'm trying to update the softball for Class 1. Naylor lost to Dora in the sectional round this week, so Dora takes on Silex in the quarterfinals. So really no local teams left in Class 1 for volleyball. We mentioned Portageville in Class 2. And taking a look at Class 3, DeSoto defeated Notre Dame in the sectionals this week 3-2. So DeSoto is in the quarterfinals taking on Pacific. So those are most local teams there. Now in Class 4, Fox defeated Farmington in extra innings 5-4. So Fox takes on Eureka in the quarterfinals today. So really Portageville is the only local team remaining in high school softball going forward. So Portageville's carrying the Southeast Missouri banner for high school softball for the rest of the way. Wish them the best of luck this afternoon at 1 o'clock, taking on Bowling Green. And we're going to take another break and be back with more coming up.
Deposit your check here or here or even there. Deposit your check wherever you are with First Midwest Bank's new mobile deposit. Just tap, snap, deposit. It's that simple. New mobile deposit from First Midwest Bank, serving the communities we call home.
What is your emergency? Need assistance at County Road 61 and Highway 9. Help is on its way.
Clear! There's a better way to jumpstart your soil back to health. Apply Endzone to protect and increase nitrogen efficiency without killing bacteria. Apply Prevent to increase phosphorus availability and reduce fixation. Better yet, use them both to get more from your fertilizer investment and see higher potential yields. Ag Explorer, your prescription for healthy soil.
You want to see me, sweetie?
Hello, Daddy. Have a seat, please. I need my own DVR. I work hard around here. When I get free time, I like to unwind to Good Luck Charlie.
Hey, no problem, no problem. We just got the boss from New Wave. Now we can record up to 6 shows at once.
6 shows at once? Someone's gunning for a promotion.
The boss from New Wave. Make TV work for you. Call 1-888-8-NEW-WAVE today.
And before we end today, I want to remind you of the high school football games we're going to replay for this weekend. And later on today, you can watch New Madrid County Central take on Portageville at 5 o'clock this Saturday. And also Sunday at 4 o'clock. Those replays at New Madrid County Central and Portageville. And also down in Piggott, we have Melbourne and Piggott. You can catch that Sunday at 7 and Tuesday at 6:30. Those are the replays for the high school football games that we recorded last night. So no live games this week. Got 2 recorded games there for you for the weekend and Tuesday night for high school football. And we want to remind you, if you're not doing anything later on this evening, Saturday evening, or even Sunday morning, you got an opportunity to see a Hall of Famer, basketball Hall of Famer in Meadowlark Lemon, previously with the Harlem Globetrotters for many years. And he's got his own team, the Harlem All-Stars. They'll be appearing at Three Rivers College this evening at 7 p.m. Advance tickets are $15 if you buy them from these 3 places: Simmons Tire and Auto, Three Rivers College, and Simple Swirled in Poplar Bluff. Tickets at the door, I believe, are $20. Students will be admitted for $10, both Three Rivers College and high school and elementary students. And that's tonight at 7 p.m., and that's out at the Best Activity Center at Three Rivers College in Poplar Bluff. A rare opportunity. You'll be able to see Meadowlark Lemon, basketball Hall of Famer, on hand, as well as his team, the Harlem All-Stars. And also, he'll be appearing for a meet and greet Sunday morning at the Family Christian Fellowship. Family Christian Fellowship in Poplar Bluff. That's behind the Jiffy Lube Auto Place on Westwood Boulevard there in Poplar Bluff. 10 a.m. Sunday. He will be available for a meet and greet. He's also going to deliver a spiritual message there at the Family Christian Fellowship in Poplar Bluff behind the Jiffy Lube Auto at 10 a.m. Sunday in Poplar Bluff. A great opportunity to meet a basketball Hall of Famer, and certainly great individual in Meadowlark Lemon. I've had the opportunity to meet him and actually sat down with an interview with him a few years ago, and a great man, a great story, and one of the more remarkable athletes that's ever played in professional sports is Meadowlark Lemon. That half-court hook shot, certainly something that we might not ever see duplicated to his extent. The rate that he hit that shot and many other things that he did with a basketball. You should see him. Even in his elder years now, he can still do the things with the basketball that, a lot of even, college and pro kids can't even do today. So it's just amazing the man that he is and what he's been able to do in his career with the basketball. Now he's doing a lot of evangelism worldwide. So certainly a great opportunity to meet and greet with Meadowlark Lemon Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at the Family Christian Fellowship in Poplar Bluff. That's behind the Jiffy Lube Auto in Poplar Bluff. I believe it's at 3025 Westwood Boulevard in Poplar Bluff. I think I have that right. And that's pretty much all we got for your show today. We appreciate you for tuning in as always. Look forward to seeing you next week. We'll have some more football action to report on, as well as high school volleyball. We'll be getting into getting some guests on to talk about these district tournaments in football, also for volleyball, and hopefully Portageville will advance on to the Final Four for next weekend as well. So look forward to that, and until then, I'm Tyler Wagner. Have yourself a great week. Take care, everyone.